BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Darren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our community. First up, a team of Bronx attorneys are coming together to fight against foreclosures affecting Bronx residents. Also, the author of As Bad as They Say, Janet Myers, is here. She'll talk about the myths and stereotypes of students living in the Bronx. Is it as bad as they say? Plus, we'll introduce you to a person whose journey and stigma she felt for most of her life, having a port wine stain covering most of the left side of her face. And it's the ongoing battle to legalize mixed martial arts competitions in New York. Two fighters will be here to explain why MMA has a place in the state. And finally, for over 150 years, they've provided incredible and one-of-a-kind service to children of New York, and now they're hosting their first community day. So we encourage you to stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way, because right now, we're officially open. And hello, Bronx. I'm host Darren Jaime. Today is Wednesday, June 8th, You're watching Open, the one and only live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York straight to your TV set. We encourage you to give us a call at 718-960-7241, or you can send us an email to open@bronxnet.org. We also are on Facebook and Twitter, and you can check us out and also see some past episodes. Well, starting things off today, the Bronx County Courthouse just opened up a counseling center to help Bronx homeowners fight against foreclosures. It's staffed by attorneys from the Legal Aid Society, Bronx Legal Services, and the New York Legal Assistance Group, who assist in fulfilling answers out to the summonses as well as paperwork and court representation. Our guest now is the supervising attorney for the newly formed Foreclosure Prevention Unit, Ms. Oda Friedheim, and we welcome her to Open, and she's also with the Legal Aid Society. And Oda, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here because we want to get the word out to as many Bronx homeowners that help is on its way. What the center, it's called the Bronx Residential Foreclosure Center, will do is provide free, and I underline free, legal services and counseling services to homeowners who have defaulted on their mortgage, who are behind and struggling, and who have been served with court papers by which the lender is commencing a foreclosure proceeding.
What kind of numbers are we seeing? Are we seeing large numbers, particularly here in our borough?
Yeah, it is. The foreclosure crisis really continues unabated. People are struggling for many, many different reasons, in part because of past abusive lending practices, and of course that combined with the overall economic crisis, loss of jobs, and other personal emergencies. So the foreclosure crisis continues, and of course some neighborhoods are affected more than others. But in any event, the most important thing is if you are a homeowner or you know of a homeowner who's struggling, the most important thing is to seek help and to seek free legal help. And
that's what you're able to provide through this counseling
Yeah,
center.
because I just want to make one important point. Unfortunately, especially once a foreclosure is filed in the courthouse, unfortunately, there are many, many scammers out there that will claim to help you save your home for money. We provide free services. There are many counseling services throughout the city that are free. You do not have to pay for such counseling or, for that matter, legal services. I just want to talk a little bit about what the center will actually do.
While people are watching, because somebody might be watching right now, they want to know exactly where you're located. So let's put that out there too.
All right. The center is newly formed and it's set up in the courthouse, the Bronx Supreme Courthouse, on the corner of Grand Concourse and 161st Street, near the Yankee Stadium, of course. And the center itself is located on the 6th floor. It's room 607A. Now, the other important part of it, it's a walk-in clinic, like a walk-in center. So there are no phone appointments. You just go. Now, when is it open? It's open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays until 4 o'clock, from 1 to 4. And the first Thursday and the third Thursday of the month, it's also open in evening hours until 8 o'clock for those people who obviously cannot take time off from work.
So literally, if you have a foreclosure crisis, you can walk into your center.
Correct. In addition, I should say that the Bronx Courthouse, this center came about through an amazing collaborative effort by legal service providers, by counseling service, particularly Brooklyn Housing and Family Service, and most importantly, the court itself, which has given us space and has been incredibly supportive. And finally, State Senator Klein has also been instrumental in helping to set up the center. And
well, I want to ask you this, because when you talk about people who are there, foreclosure is one level. You can possibly get help before it even gets there. I want to talk about homeowners who are falling back. What kind of accommodations or what kind of assistance is out there for homeowners who might be falling back, not quite in foreclosure, or just might be beginning the process?
Well, one thing they can do is reach out to various counseling services. One of them is called Brooklyn Housing and Family Service. They are actually located in the courthouse. Their direct number is 718-435-7585. In addition, a homeowner who is struggling with mortgages can also contact any one of the legal service providers. The Legal Aid Society is located on Southern Boulevard, and the phone number there is 718-991-4600. You may also contact Legal Services in the Bronx, 718-841-7001, or New York Legal Assistance Group. Initially, we may meet with the homeowner and explore all the different options to refer them to a counseling service. For what purpose? Because, as you may know, there are now loan modification programs available that services, in fact, are obliged to at least evaluate a homeowner for their eligibility.
Let me talk a little bit about those people who might be dealing with court, because there are a lot of people right now who are dealing with this issue.
Correct.
You do provide legal services for those people who might have court-mandated appearances and things of that nature.
Yes, that's correct. And here I want to emphasize the first step in the court proceeding is really being served with something called a summons and complaint. That is the first step. Now, what happens sometimes is that homeowner, either they're scared or nervous, will ignore these papers. Or in some cases, the bank or the lender will tell them, ignore that, we're working with you. And we want to emphasize, do not ignore this. Come to the walk-in clinic, because what we will do, we will evaluate your situation, and in addition, we will assist you in putting in an answer so that you are not defaulting. And like in any lawsuit, you get to tell your side of the story. So it's very important to not ignore court papers, to come to the clinic, and we will assist you with your answer and possibly other legal papers that may be necessary. We may also provide full representation if, for example, the reason for the mortgage default was abusive lending practices. That's, depends on each individual situation, and we may simply explore all the different options that may be available, whether it's loan modification or other, what we call loss mitigation.
Well, Oda, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. And we tell you that you can find out more about it at the Supreme Court, 851 Grand Concourse, located on the 6th floor. And there are also some other services that you can find out about, the legal services on Cortlandt Avenue in the Bronx and the Legal Aid Society. But as you saw Oda's information, get in touch with them. If you're in foreclosure, there is some help available, and we want you to know that. So, Oda, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, stay right there, and you stay right there with us as well, because we got to take a quick break. And then afterwards, some Bronxites and former teacher opens up about a book that she's written and shows how students, despite of their circumstances, can achieve outstanding success. That's coming up right after this.
How you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Thanks.
If only child abuse were this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call 1-800-4-A-CHILD. All calls are anonymous and confidential. Trust your instincts.
Every year, mothers lose their babies to gun crimes. You'll always be your mother's baby. So before you commit a gun crime, think about who you'll leave behind. Gun crimes hit home.
My name's Brandon. I'm 9 years old, being alcoholic.
Hi, Brandon.
I'll start drinking with the older kids. And whatever they do, I'll do.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
I know I'll start with alcohol. I'm just not sure how it's gonna end.
Hi, I'm Sean Johnson of the 2008 U.S. Gymnastics team. I'm here with our friends from VeggieTales to say, be a player, get up and play an hour a day.
Besides gymnastics, how do you stay in great shape, Sean?
I love to dance and rollerblade.
Cool.
You don't have to be an Olympian to be a player. Just do the things you already love to do, like jump rope, ride a bike, or even play freeze tag.
Now that's something to flip for.
Well done! For fun ways to get healthy, visit www.smallstep.gov.
And welcome back to Open. Darren Jaime here with you. Janet Mayer, a Bronx local, has served the community for 33 years as a teacher. She draws on her experience in the classroom to address the common negative perceptions of the Bronx and other urban schools to answer the question, is it as bad as they say? And her book is titled As Bad as They Say. She conceived of the idea for her book in 1995 and tells us the stories of students who jumped over their hurdles to achieve success. Janet's book, of course, is going to be launched a little bit later this month, and we welcome right now Janet Mayer to the show. And Janet, good to have you.
Nice
we want to show
here.
people the book, and it's as bad as as bad as they say. 3 decades of teaching in the Bronx. That's a pretty long time.
51 years total. Teaching.
Wow, and a lot of experience.
Yes.
So you take from this experience, and then you begin to put it into here. What are your findings? Is it as bad as they say?
The title has a question mark because I want you to look for the answer, but I have 8 chapters dealing with 8 different students who are my heroes. And I have written about the obstacles they overcame, the street obstacles, the home obstacles, the school obstacles, and went on to achieve greatness. They're wonderful young people capable of the highest achievement, and I wanted their story told. The title came about in 1994. The American Federation of Teachers ran a pen pal program with South Africa. And I received a letter from a South African professor who told me that his students are just starting school. Under apartheid, they weren't allowed to go to school. They had 300 years of oppression, and not to expect great letters from his students, and to warn my students that the letters might not be well written. And the first day, we received a batch of letters. Every one of my students had a letter to read out loud. I read a letter out loud. Almost every letter asked, is the Bronx as bad as they say? And that became the title for my book. And I told that class, that was 1994, and every class after that till 2002 when I retired from full-time teaching, that I would write a book about them when I retired and change the stereotype of Bronx teenagers, that they're my heroes, they're the most wonderful young people, they're hardworking, they're smart, and they do have a lot of obstacles to overcome, but they do overcome them.
In your book, you talk about defying expectations and, the fact that there are some expectations out there. Kids had a lot of stuff to really overcome. What were some of the experiences that you learned that you were able to translate to this book?
I found out that most of them needed someone to intervene, that out there, making it out there on your own is very difficult. So when I had a student who confided in me and told me they were living in the street, for example, or they had no heat or electricity or any kind of normal life at home, I would try and put them together with the right guidance counselors or social workers and tie them up. So it wasn't just, when I was a young person teaching, I thought I was just going to teach English. And then I realized that it sounds kind of corny, but you teach the whole child. It's very hard to teach English to a child who's living in the street or in the wintertime has no heat. Or has no food at home, has no supervision at home. It's hard for kids to care about their grades when nobody at home cares about it. And those problems have to be dealt with, and many students overcome them.
You're pretty vocal in terms of dealing with the whole issue of testing, and 51 years you spent dealing with the whole issue of testing, and knowing that, traditionally scores were high, they've taken a dip. Now, when you look at the whole testing issue, you've got a unique perspective on it. And share a little bit about your analysis on the whole testing system.
The standardized testing, as done today, is a fraud. It's not, these tests are not valid. We have 50 states, we have 50 different standardized tests. And according to No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top, our latest so-called reform, you must do well every year on these standardized tests, or you lose funding, principals fired, teachers fired, so everybody does better. The tests get easier and easier so that you get funding from No Child Left Behind. And 2 years ago, the math scores in New York City, all you needed was 44% to pass. 2 years prior to that, it was 65. Last summer, they raised the standards because it was shocking that you needed 44% to pass the math test, and the scores dipped terribly. 85% of the city kids failed the math and reading tests. So these standardized tests have not raised our standards. If anything, they've lowered it because people just teach to the test, and we're not even doing that well.
When you look at that, how does it make you feel now that you're out of the system?
It makes me feel like I want to fight. And I'm teaching for 51 years. I'm still teaching part-time. But I see so many things that are being done wrong. Things that are called reforms are not reforms. I compare it to the deception of the weapons of mass destruction, and we went to war in Iraq over that, and there were no weapons of mass destruction. Well, these reforms are supposed to be helping our young people, and they're not. We've had, Mayor Bloomberg has been our head of education now for 9 years. The scores have all gone down. There is only one national test. It's called the NA, National Assessment of Educational Progress. Every state has the same test. On scores, on the national test, we score terribly. We're doing terribly. That's the only standard test. The rest are bogus. They're just made up and made easier each year in order to obtain money.
Well, you talk a lot about this as in the book, As Bad as They Say, 3 decades of public teaching, in the Bronx, I should say. Want to let you know that Janet Mayer's book signing is taking place on June 25th. Where can people pick up your book?
It's sold on Amazon. You could buy it on Amazon. Borders has it. Barnes & Noble and Co-op City has it. And, of course, the bookstore where I'm having my book talk is called Books in the Hood on Westchester Avenue in the Bronx. And
Janet, what do you want people to take away from this reading?
There's going to be a mass march on Washington at the end of July. It's called SOS, Save Our Schools. We want to bring attention to the fact that what's going on, the last chapter of my book is called Deception, Dismantling and Demise of Public Education. And we think people are being defrauded, that they think what's going on is good, and when it's not. So we want to bring the attention of the whole country to the fact that we need to stop now, reassess, look at scientific-based research, study the studies and the statistics and the facts that show that what's being done is not working and needs to be stopped, and let's plan what should be done. Let's spend our billions of dollars on programs that will work, not on what we're doing now.
Interesting insight, Janet Mayer, and we thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. As she said, you can check it out at Amazon.com. If you really want to go local, guess what? June 25th from 3 to 6, we invite you to come to the Books in the Hood, which is 815 Westchester Avenue. There you can get Janet's book, and there you'll be able to have a conversation with her and also get a copy of her book, some pretty interesting stuff. And thank you for all your years of service in the school system.
I love being
51
a teacher.
years.
I love this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All righty, stay with us, and want you to stay with us too, because there's more open coming up right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
I just want us to take 5 seconds to look at those individuals to my left and to my right. You're looking at the future. These are students of Jonathan Levin High School in the Bronx. They are products of the Bronx, and they receive the media, the communication, the resources, the equipment, the tools, the knowledge, all that has been given from BronxNet last year. We had an opportunity in which some of our students were able to become interns at BronxNet. It was an invaluable opportunity. Some of those students today are in Syracuse University, Newhouse School of Communications, which is one of the best communication schools in the United States. They gained that internship, which is priceless, through BronxNet. Sometimes it's not always about the present or yesterday, but it is about the future, and we represent the future, and we need the services, the internship, the process, the resources, the equipment, and the love that BronxNet offers to our students.
Voice your support to keep the channels open and strong. Online, visit bronxnet.org and click on Support Public Access Television and sign a letter to your local representatives.
Our voices will be heard to keep the channels open and stay Bronx strong.
Low-fat cheese sandwiches on whole wheat bread. Chewy and good for you. Snacks high in calcium help build strong bones, and foods rich in fiber are good for your heart. So you have the power to dominate. Can your food do that? Run, throw, think, eat better. Find out more at smallstep.gov.
Welcome back to Open. Suzanne Wiedeberger was born with a port wine stain on her face. As a child, she faced humiliation and applied a thick layer of makeup to cover up the mark. She now joins us to talk about what gave her the courage to undergo a series of laser surgeries to treat her condition and how she's been able to deal with other life struggles. She discusses all this and more in her latest project, a memoir, Getting Naked. And we welcome now Susan to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I hate to say I'm a little bit of a coward.
Okay.
Getting surgery was really not my idea, and I have to thank my children's father for introducing me to Dr. Geronimus in 1987, when I actually started doing laser surgery on my face. I've been going through different sessions and different advancements, and as the laser surgery has advanced, it has removed my port wine stain. Now, when I started this surgery, and I'm actually going for my 31st treatment next week, and we've been doing this for 3 years now, and I go every month to 6 weeks, and I have a laser treatment.
How does that make you feel doing this? Because it's a 3-year process. I mean, talk to us about the process.
Well, the process is probably frustrating, because I'm probably one of the few old people that are successful. Their success stories are really on the little kids, and there's very few 2-year-olds that can come and chat with you on Bronx Open. So therefore, I'm talking to you. There are no real structure. It's still kind of in the processes. But I'm telling you, at my age, it works. Now, I've taken care of my skin, and I'm very proud of myself now that since the age of 4, I could cover my face. And I think I've been successful because really not too many people know. And I've been able to successfully advance from using heavy coverage to Estee Lauder or Clarins or Clinique with a combination. And now I'm just a regular girl, which is really, really strange.
Talk to us about down through the years, because, you know, we said in the introduction, dealing a little bit with the struggles and having to deal a little bit with some humiliation even of dealing with this whole thing.
Well, it changed me. It's not easy growing up not pretty in a world that you have to be pretty. It's harder. I never put myself out there, and I'm embarrassed, especially when you had a teacher on your show, that I didn't do that well in school, and I regret that. But that could have been my anger, or I didn't want people to know, and I wanted to be popular because I was different. But it's not easy for a kid to grow up, even today. And it's not easy for a woman. And when you in the morning, the first thing you do is cover your face because you don't want someone to know what you really look like. It changes how you do things, and I would rather other people be the center. Well, now I have nothing stopping me. I've been given this new face.
And now you've got this story of getting naked.
Well, yes. I'm in the middle of writing my memoirs, and we're hoping that it will come out summer reading next year. It takes a process. But right now, it's more important for me to be talking about how amazing my doctors are. And get people to go visit their doctor who have port wine stain. Can you believe that 3 out of every 1,000 children have a form of port wine stain? Now, mine happened to end up on my face, which is more difficult, but they're at different parts of your body, and also men have it and women. It must be much more difficult for men because I could hide mine. And so coming out, most people think, well, Suzanne, what did you have to struggle? You had normal struggles. Well, it was a little harder because every day I had to coach myself and put a smile on my face, and somehow it made me have a better attitude and a great smile. And can you imagine how beautiful my insides, it now radiates outside?
And you feel good about it. Talk to us about this, though, because you say like every 6 weeks, or it was every month to 6 weeks, you've been enduring this process now. How intense is the process?
It's an intense process, but it's been kind of more difficult for me because my life is completely different. Last year, my husband passed away, and I have a new face. So I'm really at a very beginning of a life, and for anyone 54, it's a lot of other women going through this. Now, when I was a child, I thought I was the only one who had a port wine stain. When I got divorced, I thought I was the only single mom with 2 kids that were struggling on their own. When I went through life, I always thought it was just me. It was surprising. There's a lot of people just like me. The only difference between me and them is I had an excuse. I had to hide who I was. Now, getting undressed and naked is kind of I'm finding other people to kind of sit back and watch me do it because it allows them to personally undress and get naked themselves.
So in sharing your story, you're feeling that others are feeling more compelled to be encouraged and at the same time share theirs?
Yes. And I think if someone stands up, we can focus on the positive things. And I would like to think that this is the most wonderful part of my life. I've spent my life raising my children and doing all of those accomplishments a woman does. And, you know, what path do you go on? It's kind of cool to know I've done something right. And there is no right way of doing it. And you can have a career and you can be a mom. And all of this resilience, it's kind of like being a woman. And that's what we do the best.
Has surgery given you life over again, in a matter of speaking?
Well, it's forced me to not hide anymore, and it's a slow step. This is very frightening for me because this is the first time I'm actually allowing people to know the truth. There are no photographs of me with my port wine stain except the one you have of me. Not because there are no photographs, it's because my reality was I was normal behind my mask.
And we're seeing it right there.
Can you imagine that? Little girl accomplished that much? It's amazing.
So down through the years, you've had to deal with this, and talk about this because you said the process of what you've endured in the early years, seeing yourself and not feeling the best. What's it like now after knowing what you felt like and where you are today?
Well, there was and it sounds sad, they were worried that no one would want to ever marry me. Well, that's completely wrong.
Okay.
And, you know, sometimes we worry about what other people think of you, and my main focus was to get married. Well, now that I've gotten that over and I know that, now the focus is me. I've raised my children and they surprised me. They turned out much better than I ever anticipated. And they've inspired me, and I've moved forward to go for the dreams I've went for. When I was 21, I decided to get married. I had another opportunity, and those were my dreams. Those dreams now are there for me to fulfill.
Where can people find out more information about your story and about this whole process? What can they do?
Well, you can reach me on Facebook. It's Suzanne Viterberger. It's easy. I'm the only Suzanne Viterberger out there. You can email me at viterberger@gmail. Talk to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about port wine stains. Also, starting life over again, and keep in touch. I'm hoping the book will come out soon. It's not easy getting naked, but
right. You're getting prepared.
I'm a little chilled, but I think it's important. And port wine stains are something that nobody talks about. Insurance companies don't necessarily always cover surgery. And not everybody knows about it, and it's important for them to know about it. So right now we're just talking about the simple things and talking about port wine stains and great technology advancement in laser surgeries. And also, if you need to know more about port wine stains, there's the Vascular Birthmark Foundation, and there's also a wonderful support group, birthmarks.com, and that's for families who are going through it. And the main question is, how many sessions does it take? It takes as many as it takes. And you have to believe in your doctors, and you just have to have faith. Every time I go for surgery, it's another layer off, and it's another step to my next step. So it's a different life. I get out of bed. I don't put my makeup on anymore.
And it feels good, huh?
It's a little strange, and I'm getting used to it, but good things should take their time.
Take a little time, and unfortunately we're out of time here. But Suzanne, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, and best wishes to you in the future, and best wishes on getting naked.
Well, maybe I'll come back.
Yes, you can. You got to come back.
Absolutely.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, stay with us. Coming up next, we want to tell you, should mixed martial arts fighting be legalized in New York State? Well, there are two men that are going to be here. They're going to answer that question plus more. But before we go, the Urban Male Leaders celebrated their graduation gala at Lehman College. To keep the graduates motivated, the Reverend Al Sharpton spoke to the students. Dr. James Jarvis, chair of the Black Studies Department at Lehman College, was also given an award from City Councilman Larry Seabrook. And our Bronxton correspondent, Arlene Makoko, was on the scene. She brings us more.
Lift every voice and sing.
President and founder of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton, addressed Lehman College graduates and participants of the Urban Male Leadership Program at their annual gala, delivering a speech that acknowledged the hurdles they've had to overcome while encouraging them to aim high in life and to not let challenging circumstances growing up as children define who they are.
All of us were born in circumstances we didn't decide. Nobody asked you before you were born what kind of parents you wanted, what economic conditions you wanted to be born in, where you wanted to be born, none of that.
He added that nothing should get in the way of achieving personal goals.
You can allow people to talk you out of your destiny, or you can be committed to achieving your destiny no matter what.
He shared his own story about growing up the child of a single parent on welfare and a moment where his junior high school teacher urged him to be a carpenter when he told her what he wanted to do was to be a preacher and a leader.
I found the key in life is to measure how your determination is stronger or weaker than those that try to tell you where they see you and put you in your place.
Sharpton shared he's aware that more needs to be done, not only locally but nationally, for the cause of civil rights.
We're in the best of times and the worst of times. Best of times, we have positions we never had. Black president, black attorney general. Worst of times, we're doubly unemployed. Some cities, we have only 35% high school graduate rates. We have gangs, we have high crime, we have a sense of loss. So at the bottom, problems, top, more where we ever been.
I think his speech was very powerful. He reached out to a lot of the young students out there about how he started up as a young man and worked his way up to be what he is today. So I think his speech was very powerful.
Personally, I feel that it was ministering to me directly because he mentioned something about taking charge of your own life and not allowing anybody else to say who you would be and not to wait on anybody else.
It generated that they must go out and command that respect and also give respect and teach young people that the importance is higher education.
City Councilman Larry Seabrook, who presented a special award to James Jervis, chairman of the African and African American Studies Department at Lehman, praised him for his role with urban leaders, saying it creates a solid foundation for young men and women of color.
I would like them all, both the students and the graduates, to strive to achieve political empowerment at all levels.
Breaks the stereotype to believe that these are just going to be dropouts and hoodlums. We don't have dropouts and hoodlums here. We have young men who are going to be productive citizens in America's society.
Even in the face of budget cuts to education, City Councilman Seabrook said that this is a program that works and he would ensure that funding continues. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
And thank you, Arlene, for your report. Well, the popularity of mixed martial arts is rapidly rising with people, young and old, becoming not only fans, but also students eager to learn the extremely physically demanding sport. For those who aspire or already are professional MMA fighters, they faced a major hurdle for years in trying to make the sport legally sanctioned in the state of New York. But they recently became closer to achieving their goal when the Senate passed the bill. Now they have to wait on the Assembly. Here to tell us more about why MMA should be sanctioned fights should be legalized in New York is Shihan Irvin Velez and his son, pro MMA fighter Evan Velez. And thank you so much and welcome to back here to Open. So share with us a little bit about where things stand, because obviously, as we said, it's passed in one form of legislature, but still some things are still up in the air.
Well, right now, so the bill passed, and we're kind of waiting. And this seems new for all the fans, because MMA has been recently, been popularized. But for us fighters and everything, it's been an ongoing struggle, and we've been to the point where we thought it was going to be legalized, over and over again. So at this point, we're just kind of this is nothing really new to us. But I would argue that it is for like the new population, for people that are really into it recently.
Well, why should it be sanctioned? I guess the question is.
Well, there's a lot of talent, out there, and there's already some combat sports that are, like boxing. There's wrestling. There's grappling is coming real popular, and there's a lot of arguments in a lot of directions. And for example, in some ways, boxing is even more dangerous than MMA, because when a boxer gets hurt, there's a standing 8 count, and then what happens is the ref will ask you, are you okay? And because fighters are tough, they're going to always say yes, they want to continue. So after having a minor concussion from a standing 8 count, they'll continue fighting. Whereas in MMA, once there's a knockdown, the referee rules it automatically, the fight's over. So in a sense, you can argue that one's safer than the other or this or that, but what we're really missing out in New York State is all the talent that we have. Well,
let me bring your dad in here on this, because your son is 2-0. Yes, he has a good record, professional record, I should say. But most of his fights occur out of state because it's not sanctioned here. So that means 2 things. Number 1, he loses the hometown advantage. Number 2 is you got to travel.
Exactly. Well, one of the advantages also of having it come to New York is it develops revenue for the state. And right now, the way the economy is, I think it would be a good idea to bring it to New York. Schools, people are being laid off, and all kinds of things are happening. And, I think that's the best thing,
Watching your son as a father, talk about that process and seeing him engage, because some parents say, I can't see it, it's too violent, it's too this,
right.
It's too that. What's your perspective?
Well, I'm used to it because, I teach full contact karate myself, and I've taught him and his brother, and and they came up in that environment all the time. So for him, it hasn't been like that much different to getting into the MMA field.
So you're 2-0 right now. Where do things stand with you? When's your next fight coming up?
My next fight is on July 23rd. I'm actually waiting to hear back from my opponent to have him sign the contract. But if everything goes well, the fight will be July 23rd in Atlantic City under CFFC.
So you'll be out there. You'll be out there in Atlantic City doing your thing. What's it like to be out there doing your thing and having to go far and not really be able to do this at home?
Well, I mean, to be honest, you know, I love the sport, and it just comes with the sport. I've been traveling, you know, as a wrestler for college all this time. I actually live upstate right now and train upstate, and you know, it's just part of the journey. You know,
Seeing a picture of you in action here. Talk about this fight.
That was actually my amateur fight, my MMA debut. That was before I went pro. That was toward the end of last year. That was actually in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is you know, a pretty far ride for all of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I won that fight by first round submission. Yeah, that's about it.
How well are you keeping up with the whole political process here in New York?
Well, like I said, I mean, this has been an ongoing struggle for us for a long time. And in the beginning, we were all really involved, you know, and now it's just been going back and forth for so many years. We're just kind of you know, doing our thing, and if we hear something, great, and if not, then we'll just continue doing what we're doing, traveling
and going to and fro.
Yep.
Where do you want to see yourself in a couple of years?
Hopefully in the UFC. I mean, right now the UFC doesn't have a flyweight class, which is my weight division, but there's been a lot of talks about that, along with the legalization of MMA in New York State. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully, Lord willing, you know, end up in the UFC and.
Sheehan, talk a little bit about what you do and how what you've done has been able to transcend into what your son's got going on now.
Yeah, well, I've been in the martial arts for 45 years, and part of that, most part of that time, I've taught full contact karate. I was a full contact fighter myself when I was younger, and I transcended that to my sons, and they've taken off with that now. One is doing jiu-jitsu, the other one is doing MMA, but they have a full contact background. So it all blends in, you know.
How do you feel having that as your foundation?
Well, I would say, you know, especially now starting off in MMA, a lot of the guys that are recently coming into are one-dimensional, which they only have experience in one area, whether it's just wrestling or boxing or something. I started off with karate for a long time, and then I wrestled in high school and college. So besides just having the physical skill, you know, there's also, you know, the amount of discipline and focus that comes with being able to, you know, stay and maintain in this type of sport. And I feel like it's just been a great foundation for me, you know, in MMA.
Well, Sheehan, how can people find out more information about the work that you're doing, and we'll get some contact information out for you guys?
I have a school at 611 Morris Park Avenue here in the Bronx. They can call me at 718-710-8101, and I'm there they can reach me 6 days a week.
All right.
And I'm currently training upstate in New York. I moved there to commit to MMA full-time in Ultimate Athletics with Team Bomb Squad under Ryan Ciotoli. He's my manager. And we got a great team with a lot of young talent, and hopefully you guys will all be hearing about us pretty soon.
All right. Well, best wishes on that next fight
Thank
coming
you.
up. Hopefully we get that going.
Appreciate it.
Sheehan, thanks so much for coming and
Thank
sharing
you.
with you. Best wishes. And of course, we'll continue to update our viewers and let them know exactly what how this really plays out, because we know how it can work up there in Albany. Well, stay with us. It's coming up next. You're going to find out how you can become a part of the Leak and Watts family. That's right, the Leak and Watts family. We'll let you know how you can be a part when we return.
Low-fat cheese sandwiches on whole wheat bread. Chewy and good for you. Snacked high in calcium help build strong bones. And foods rich in fiber are good for your heart. So you have the power to dominate. Can your food do that? Run, throw, think, eat better. Find out more at smallstep.gov.
I remember how much you said you liked mine. Oh.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live united for education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
So here are the keys. Congratulations, it's officially yours. I'm sure you'll have many happy years here. Except for you, because you'll be gone 3 years from now, struck down by the same disease that got your father. So you won't be around for them. And sadly, it could have been detected early with a simple test, but you didn't have it. Okay, who wants to check out the backyard?
For a list of tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov.
Since let's try this again. Since the 1830s, Lincoln Watts has continued to provide and have a positive impact on the lives of more than 2,800 children and families every day. They're dedicated to helping individuals struggling with poverty, disabilities, and a lack of education overcome these obstacles and create a strong foundation and plenty of success. And on Saturday, June 18th, they're hosting their first Community Day at their Yonkers Riverdale campus. Guests will be able to enjoy a beautiful view of the campus, as well as carnival games, face paints, live music. And here to give us a little bit more information on Lincoln Watts Community Day is Executive Director Alan Mucatel. And Alan, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So, okay, June 18th is going to be the day, and the community will be out in full force. And for 4 hours, they'll be able to participate in this day. Share a little bit about the background of this.
Sure. Lincoln Watts, as you mentioned, has been around for 180 years. We have a beautiful campus, partially in Riverdale and partially in Yonkers, right on the Hudson River. And very rarely does the community get an opportunity to come on campus and see what we're doing. And many people have asked over the years, hey, what goes on behind the fences? And so this is an opportunity to welcome them, welcome all of our neighbors to come and see what we do. We have a big presence in the Bronx itself. We have foster families and we have schools and group homes, but this is a chance to come see the campus and get a bigger picture of the agency.
Mm-hmm. So you'll have an opportunity to walk around the campus and actually see some of the services that you guys offer.
Correct. We'll be doing guided tours on our campus. People will find, we have a daycare program. We have group homes for people with developmental disabilities nearby. We have a high school for children with special education needs, and we have a residential treatment center for kids who need to live residentially because of their special education needs.
Mm-hmm. So the carnival there'll be a carnival going, there'll be some music, there'll be some face paint, so just about anybody can come out.
In fact, we hope everybody will come out.
Mm-hmm.
Our Bronx neighbors, even our Lower Westchester neighbors are all welcome to join. There'll be food, there'll be activities for children. It's a very beautiful campus, and so it'll just be a nice activity for a early summer weekend.
Mm-hmm. What is it like to have a campus like this and to have this wide variety of resources that are actually available? Because there's several components that you got floating pieces, if you will.
First of all, we're very lucky, of course, to own so much land in such a prime location. It's actually very interesting. That land has been with us since the 1890s. It was originally owned actually by a cousin of John Wilkes Booth, the actor who had murdered President Lincoln, and the previous owner himself was an actor. So we've kept the land in good shape. It's very beautiful, but it's a lot of responsibility. We have a lot of buildings there, and so the upkeep of the property is a major concern for us as well.
Mm-hmm. Share with us those people who participate in some of the activities that you have going on. What are some of the? Let's go over some of the activities. I should say services, and those who are in.
For sure. In the Bronx, we serve about 300 children in foster care. So we have a number of families that have opened their homes as foster parents, and they're licensed and certified by Lincoln Watts to provide that service to young children who have been removed from their homes. We have preventive services, which is a family stabilization program for about 150 families where their child is potentially at risk for being removed because of abuse and neglect. We have a special education lower school and high school, which serves children with emotional disorders and learning disabilities who need additional support that they can't obtain in their local public school. In addition to that, we also have some community group homes for people with developmental disabilities scattered throughout the Bronx. So every day we're probably serving about close to 2,500 families and children just in the Bronx. The rest of the families we serve are going to be in Westchester, and then also most of our staff are here from the Bronx.
What are your hopes, I should say, coming out of this Community Day on the 18th? What's the message that you want to send?
Well, you know, we've been around a very long time, but I think only a few people know that we actually are here. So this is just another opportunity to get our name out. We're always looking for volunteers, we're looking for employees, we're looking for foster parents, and so Community Day is an opportunity to just, I guess, shine the light on us, and also to say thank you to our neighbors. Many of whom have been so very kind to us over the years. And so this is really about building that relationship, making it stronger and stronger.
So June 18th, we invite you to come on out, 12 to 4, address 463 Hawthorne Avenue. That is in Yonkers, New York. We want you to come on out and be a part of that. Street parking is available as well, huh?
Exactly.
So share with us a little bit about this, because there's foster care, and then you've also got low-income families that you deal with.
Correct. It's really, we're a very unique agency in that the range of our services is so broad, from education, as I mentioned, to foster care, to developmental disabilities. We also have, throughout the Bronx, I should have mentioned, several daycare centers that are run by us and preschool special education programs. So we really are touching the lives of Bronx residents with full gamut. And we're really proud of that heritage and that history.
Do you partner with a lot of people?
Oh, for sure. We can't do it alone. Our goal, depending on the service that we're providing, is to help people not only just to receive the services they need, but not to be dependent on us for those services. Because really, the goal for everybody is for them to be as independent and successful as they can, and we all rely on a range of community supports to make that happen. And so our job is to help link people with those services.
So if people want more information about Leak and Watts or the actual Community Day itself, what do they do?
Well, they can go to our website, which is leakandwatts.org. That's LEAKEANDWATTS.org. Or they can give us a call at 914-375-8912.
And so in some very prime location there, and we want to tell people 463 Hawthorne Avenue is the address where you can go, and you say serving over 2,800 children and families.
Every day. So come on out and enjoy the day with us.
All righty. Well, we encourage you to do that, and we thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, Al.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. Well, definitely thank you, and thank you, our viewers, because guess what? Just about out of time. We want you to take the time to find out a little bit about all that you've heard today on the show. I want to thank all of the guests for coming in, and we definitely say it's a pleasure coming into your homes. Thank the guests, and but most of all, thank you for watching. And you can tune in tonight for the recablecast of Open, and that recablecast will take place at 10 p.m. on Channel 67. Of course, now, if you desire a brand new episode on Friday, we want you to check it out, 10 o'clock with my girl, Rena Valentine. She'll be here bringing you all the latest. Now, for those people who want to find out more information about Bronxnet Television itself, we encourage you to go on out to the website, www.bronxnet.org. There you'll be able to find out about all of our shows. If you're a public access producer and you want to find out about public access in the borough of the Bronx, you can go on and log on and see. You can see the public access shows, as well as our local origination programming that we've got, shows such as Open right here as well. And then we also tell you, we're a social networking bunch. So you can check us out on Facebook. Here, you'll see past episodes of Open. Also, you'll be able to write on our discussion board of issues and topics of concern to you. I want to thank you once again for joining us here on the set of Open. I'm Darren Hyman. Until the next time we meet, we encourage you, keep your heart, your mind, but most of all, this channel wide open. Thanks for watching.
Be free. Nice, Dad. Nice, Dad. Nice.
Charles!
Nice, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
G Morning Sunshine, text me back. LUV love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back.
Are you with your friends? That's lame.
We're in a huge fight right now. XO.
What'd you dream about?
Something I did.
Are you on your way to the mall?
Lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me. G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back.
Are you with your friends? That's lame.
We're in a huge fight right now. XO.
What'd you dream about?
Something I did.
Are you on your way to the mall?
Lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Mom, I'm not gonna go to college.
What are you saying? You've got to go to college.
Well, they offered me a job, and...
Son, college is much more important.
No.
Yes.
No, Mom.
Yes.
Anyways, it's my decision.
Okay, well then decide what degree you're going to get because you will go to college.
Their tomorrow depends on your words today. The Hispanic Scholarship Fund has the information you need to help your kids go to college.
This is so cool, Dad.
Be free. Nice, Dad. Nice, Dad. Nice.
Charles!
Nice, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darks there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live united for education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
G-morning, sunshine.